Hey everybody, I'm Chad Wesley Smith here for Juggernaut Training Systems, bringing you part 3 in our Pillars of Great Deadlift Technique series. I'm joined by IPF World Champion and World Record holder Marissa Inda, PR deadlift of 187.5 kilos, 413 pounds in the 52 kilo weight class. That's 114 pounds body weight. How much is that? Like 3.7 times body weight? Something like that. Math is hard. I don't know. But and we've already talked about finding your stance, hip hinging, where to set your grip, how to set the grip in your hand, how to engage tension into the lats. The next big step that we're going to talk about is also very key to tension, is about breathing and bracing. And there's really two ways that this can happen. You can breathe and brace at the top, or you can breathe and brace at the bottom, and maybe you can breathe and brace a bit at the top and at the bottom. And that's kind of what Marissa is going to do here. So breathing at the top generally allows for more air to be taken in because there's more space and the abdomen cavity has more room to fill up more air when you're standing upright rather than when you get bent over and things get kind of compacted and constricted. So that would be the ideal thing, is to take your air in all at the top, reach down, get set, and go. But if your setup takes a little bit longer, maybe you're going to begin to lose some tension, maybe get a little bit lightheaded. And again, if you're an athlete of more advanced size, maybe taking your air in at the top is going to make it too restrictive for you to be able to get into an effective position. So let's just go ahead and set up the way that you normally would. So you can see Marissa's taking air in at the top. She reaches down to grab the bar, puts some tension into the bar, and in that small time where she raises her hips, she takes additional air in. And this is going to be a good middle ground for a lot of people to allow them to really maximize their tension without restricting the position that they can get into too much. So the thing that we really need to focus on, or the thing we really need to be able to do well, is understand how to breathe and brace outside of the context of pulling a heavy deadlift before we get into doing it under high stress and high load. And the way that we're going to learn that is through 90-90 breathing, one of our favorite drills.
So now as we're preparing our body for our deadlifts, what we're really looking to do is facilitate some warmth and some tension in the hamstrings, as well as really get our abs firing so we're properly breathing and bracing. So 90-90 breathing, very similarly to what we did in the squat warm-up, is going to be our first step here in the deadlift warm-up. Again, that's knees bent at 90 degrees, hips bent at 90 degrees, foam roller being squeezed between the knees to create some adduction. And then Marissa is going to forcefully breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, as if she's trying to breathe out through a straw. So a long, forceful exhale. She's going to keep her ribs down, and then with a slight hamstring curl into the bench, put some tension in the hamstring to slightly raise the tailbone off the floor, lining up the ribs and the pelvis with each other. So we're practicing that neutral bracing position that we want when we're putting ourselves under heavy weights with the squat and deadlift.
So a very important concept to understand as we're breathing and bracing is that we're trying to brace a neutral position. If you were to think of a soda can, an empty soda can sitting on the table, and you try and compress that can, it takes a lot of force, but we take that same can and put a dent into the side of it, and it will crush basically right away. That difference in position is the difference in your bracing here, a neutral position, or getting into an overextended, or what kind of everyone knows to be bad, a flexed position, and trying to fill that up. So while a lot of times you may have heard cueing about big chest or arching hard in the low back, when you set your air as you take it in from the top, what you find to be a very effective tool is to have a quick forceful exhale, setting your rib position down, and then from here filling up and bracing as hard as possible and maintaining that more neutral position as you reach down to grab the bar. So we've shown the way that Marissa does it, where she takes air in at the top and then some additional air in at the bottom. And that's a great way to do it because, again, taking air in at the top where there's more space allows you to build more tension. But if you are, like me, an athlete of advanced size, it may be unrealistic for you to take your air in at the top because it would be too restrictive to your position. So actually the way that I do things for me to effectively get into position is that here at the top, I'm exhaling, I'm blowing all my air out, and in doing that, I'm setting a good neutral rib down position. So I'm here, and as I hinge, I get down to the bar where I can just kind of barely touch it. I use the bar to leverage myself into a start position, and then from right here, I fill up as much air and as much tension as possible. Now, because that position is not as open and as expanded, I can't get as much air and as much tension, but bigger athletes generally don't have as much problem generating as much tension. All right, so that is our third pillar in our series on pillars to great deadlifting technique. In pillar 1, we addressed stance and hinging. In pillar 2, grip width and how to grab the bar and how to engage the lats. In this, the third installment, we talked about how to breathe and brace for maximal tension in the start position in the deadlift to not only lift the most weight, but also to keep your back healthy. So make sure you check out those previous videos, subscribe to the channel so you see the next ones. Thanks for watching.